Hi everyone, welcome to another weekly Forex forecast for the week ending January 15th, 2021. My name is Justin Bennett with Daily Price Action, and in today's forecast we're going to talk about the euro, the pound, the euro versus the Australian dollar, as well as Bitcoin and Ethereum. I haven't given an update on cryptocurrencies in a while, but I'm going to show you why I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are headed much higher this year. Alright, so let's get to it right now. A quick disclaimer that today's video is for educational purposes only. All views are my opinion and are not intended as investment advice. Forex is a high reward, high risk business, and you should not trade with borrowed money or money you cannot afford to lose. See the description of this video for the full disclaimer. First up, we have the EURUSD, and as you can see, the pair did pull back from that 123.30 resistance area last week. So this is a region that I've had on my chart for a while now, and I've maintained that the EURUSD needs to get above that 123.30 area on a daily closing basis in order to expose my final target around 125. If you followed me for a while, you know that I was getting long the EURUSD on this candle back here, which I did announce in the members area. So I got long through here. I was adding during this pullback, and my target is that 125 area. So if we look at the higher time frames, you can see where on the monthly time frame, the EURUSD did break out from this symmetrical triangle back here in July. We had several months of consolidation, and then the EURUSD broke out last month. So any pullbacks here could be temporary as long as that 120 area holds as support. Now 125, as you can see, is this high back here, so that's going to be my target over the next few weeks and months. So flipping back to the daily time frame, we could see more weakness from the EURUSD, but as long as it's above this 121.50 area on a daily closing basis, I do like the pair higher. Even if it were to break below 121.50, I would still be bullish the EURUSD in the longer term, because that's the area the pair broke out from back here on December 1st. So if you remember, this is the area that the pair channeled between for about 4 months, between 116.15 and 120. Now back here on December 1st, it did break above 120, and of course we've retested 123.30. So for the week ahead, 121.50 is going to be support. A daily close below that would open up 120, and this is sort of the must hold area for buyers. As long as we hold above 120, I do like the pair higher. And again, a close above 123.30 would expose that 125 resistance area. I discussed the pound on the blog on Friday, and the key takeaway from that was that December finally closed above this multi-year falling wedge. So you can see where the top of this wedge extends from the 2017 high, and December was the first monthly close above that resistance area. So going forward, this area through here, right around 134 to 135, that's going to be support for the pair. As long as we hold above this trend line though, I do like the pair higher. Now the bottom of this wedge pattern extends back to the 2001 low, so you can see how well defined this pattern is over the last 20 years or so. So again, as long as this region holds as support, I do like the pound higher over the longer term. Now moving into the weekly time frame, you can see where the pair broke out a few weeks ago above that 134.80 resistance area. So the pair had traded below this area for about 18 months, and a few weeks ago we did get a weekly close above that area. The 135 area was retested as new support, and as I mentioned recently, 137 is resistance. Notice it's the location of this low back here. So this 137 to 138 area is going to be resistance. The pound needs to close above this region up here to expose that 143.50 area, which is of course the double top from back here. Now, if we were to see the pair close a week below 134.80 or so, that would negate or at least delay the bullish outlook. And last but not least, I don't like trading the pound on the daily time frame because it's simply not respecting these levels the way I'd like to see, which is why I'm looking at the weekly and monthly time frames here, because if I move down to the daily, you can see how choppy this has been around that 134.80 area. So this is the previous resistance area, and you can see how we got a daily close back here, but then the pound closed right back below it. And this was during all of those Brexit talks, so the pair got really choppy through here and just isn't respecting this area on a daily closing basis, which is why I'm analyzing everything on the weekly and monthly time frame. So as long as the pound stays above that 134.80 area on a weekly closing basis, I do like it higher. However, it needs to get above 137 to 138 in order to expose that 143.50 resistance area. The euro is playing out beautifully against the Australian dollar. I mentioned this one a few weeks ago where we had this breakdown below a multi-month trend line. And not only was this a trend line, but it also appeared to be the neckline of a massive head and shoulders pattern. So you can see back here where we had the left shoulder, we then had the high way up here, which if you exclude the volatility, even if we use this high, this is still a huge pattern. And then of course we have the right shoulder over here. Now the pair did close a week below that neckline, and you can see where 161.50 or thereabouts was retested as new support. So I've liked the idea of shorting the pair ever since it closed below this area and retested 161.50 as new support. So the pair did eventually break below that 160 region, and of course now it's retesting 157, which was the next support area I had on my chart. So keep this in mind going into the new week because we could see a bounce from this 157 area. It could be a little bit lower than 157, but I do think that this area is going to attract some buyers. If we do get a push higher back into 160, that could present a selling opportunity. There's no guarantee that we will. We could just see a retest of this recent weekly low. All right, so if the pair were to come up and retest the low from this week right here, it would obviously not make it back to 160. But ultimately, you can see where this trend is starting to pick up here as the 10 and 20 EMAs start to separate and the pair really starts to pick up bearish momentum. So a close below this 157 area, a weekly close below it, would expose 152, with a close below that area exposing the 146 area. These are all targets that I've talked about recently. You can see how well defined 146 is as support back here. And of course, that 152 area was resistance through here. It then flipped to support. So these are going to be key levels I keep an eye on the way down. But if this is in fact a head and shoulders pattern, we could see the euro versus the Australian dollar head much lower than even 157 or even 152, as the measured objective here would call for a multi-thousand pip move. Bitcoin, or BTCUSD, has had a heck of a run over the last few months. It's crazy to think about the fact that I was first talking about this on the blog back here when it was around $8,000. So my first mention was in May of last year when it was right around the $8,000 mark. However, I was telling members that I was buying this pair when it was $7,000 back here in April. So I told members that I was accumulating back here through April, and essentially my plan was to buy anything under $10,000. So through this entire area, I was buying Bitcoin, and that position is now up about 400%. As you can see, Bitcoin is trading right around $41,000 today and has only accelerated since it broke its previous all-time high right around that $20,000 mark in December. So this gain has been incredible. It took just a few weeks for Bitcoin to essentially double from $20,000 up here to $40,000. And with this momentum, I see no reason why we can't see Bitcoin at $45,000 or even $50,000 this month. Now, make no mistakes about it, Bitcoin is still volatile. We could still see some pullbacks here. However, the institutional demand this time around is much greater than any time in the past. So that means that pullbacks like we used to see from Bitcoin around 30 or 40%, in my opinion, those days are gone. I think we're going to see something closer to 20%, maybe 25% pullbacks, which means if Bitcoin does pull back from here, I would expect a retracement maybe to the $35,000 area. Perhaps we get a move down to $30,000. But again, the momentum here is so incredibly strong that I wouldn't be surprised at all to see $45,000 or even $50,000 before we do see some type of retracement from Bitcoin. Now, as many are aware, especially those who follow me on Twitter, I'm looking at the next 7 to 8 months in this cycle. I don't think that this bull market tops out for another 7 or 8 months. So even though we could see volatility from Bitcoin and pullbacks along the way, I don't think we're going to reach a cycle peak until later this year. And as crazy as it sounds, even though every single time frame is overextended, I would not be surprised at all to see Bitcoin head toward the $100,000 mark by February. So in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we could very well be looking at a Bitcoin above $50,000, perhaps up to the $100,000 mark. Now, just keep in mind that if we do get a move of that magnitude, expect a lot of volatility, expect $10,000 to $20,000 pullbacks. So keep that in mind if you are looking to buy Bitcoin at these levels. But again, in the short term, as you can see, that $35,000 area is going to be support. That was the previous weekly high. So $35,000 is going to be support. I would expect to see some sellers around 45, but ultimately the next big round number is going to be that $50,000 handle. And last but certainly not least, we have Ethereum, or ETHUSD. And unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum is still trading below its previous all-time high around the $1,400 mark, maybe just above it. So this area between $1,400 and $1,500 is going to be critical over the next few days. Now, I first talked about Ethereum back here when it was breaking out from this first trend line. So between $200 and $240, this was my first accumulation period. You can see where the pair broke out from this area, and I was essentially buying on all these pullbacks before we had the breakout from this next area. And in fact, I just bought Ethereum again last week, and even that may seem crazy considering we're well above $1,000. I do think that Ethereum is headed much, much higher this year. So I do think that Ethereum has all the potential to hit $5,000, $10,000, and even higher this year. Of course, that's just my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I do think that the potential is huge for Ethereum. Now, if I move into the intraday timeframes, you can see we're on the 2-hour chart. Ethereum is just consolidating sideways here between the $1,130 area. So this is now support on the intraday charts, and this area right around $1,270, $1,270, this is resistance. So if we do get a close above this $1,270 area, that should take Ethereum up here toward this $1,400 area. Of course, that is the previous all-time high, and a break above $1,440 or so should set Ethereum in price discovery mode, meaning the sky is the limit. Now, alternatively, if we were to see the pair move lower and close below this 1130 area, that could take it back to some of these recent lows, perhaps down to retest the $1,000 round number. But just given the uptrend and also the way the pair is moving sideways here, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see a break above this 1270 area within the coming days and a run at that $1,400 area. In fact, my base case for a retest of $1,400 is by January 13th. And the reason I say that is the previous all-time high from January 2018 occurred between January 10th and the 13th, depending on whether you're looking at USD or USDT, and it also varies between brokers. But essentially, that high from 2018 occurred between the 10th and 13th of January, so it only makes sense that the market would rhyme here and retest the $1,400 area by January 13th at the latest. Again, as always, I could be wrong, but I do think that Ethereum looks ready for its next leg up if it can get above that 1270 area. The all-time high around $1,400 is within reach, and above that is price discovery. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, leave your comment below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. See you next time.